Oh.
So we've had tweet after tweet after tweet after message about, I don't know if you guys are waiting for your waiting for you to respond to the Wirtz thing.
Oh, I've been chomping at the bit.
100%. So let's play the initial clip with Mark Lazarus, who, by the way, is among the best reporters in the league when it comes to hockey. And frankly, has always been very, very good. He works for The Athletic. We love The Athletic. And Mark has Mark's done a lot in his career. I don't think Mark's ever had a conversation like this. Ever.
Back also, and I think much of what happened to Kyle Beach stemmed from a power imbalance between a coach and a player and the powerlessness of a player in that situation. So what are the Blackhawks doing? What have the Blackhawks done? What will the Blackhawks do to empower a player in a similar situation to make sure that doesn't happen again?
I'm going to answer the question at the end. I think the report speaks for itself. The people that were involved are no longer here. We're not looking back at 2010. We're looking forward. And we're not going to talk about 2010. I know, and I'm not either. And we're not going to talk about what happened. We're moving forward. That is my answer. Now, what's your next question?
I can pick up to what we are doing today. And I think
No, I don't know. That's none of your business. That's none of your business. What we're going to do today is our business. I don't think it's any of your business.
How is it not my business?
Because I don't think it's any of your business. You don't work for the company. If someone in the company asks that question, we'll answer it. And I think you should get on to the next subject. We're not going to talk about Kyle Beach. We're not going to talk about anything that happened. Now we're moving on. What more do I have to say? You want to keep asking the same question? You hear the same answer? Okay, ask the next question. Okay.
Okay, so we're going to leave it there for a second. Let me tell you who's speaking. Mark Lazarus is the one asking the question. He's the reporter, covers the Blackhawks for The Athletic. Then you have Danny Wirtz and Rocky Wirtz. Danny is Rocky's son. Danny wanted to answer that question. Rocky, his father, said, I got this. You want to talk about the Blackhawks for a second?
Well, and I didn't notice this the first time I watched it. Danny is staring a laser beam through his father.
Mm-hmm.
Just a laser beam. Should we play the second clip before we start?
No, I think we're going to start with this, and
Let's
I'll tell you
break
why.
down this first.
I want to
Okay.
break this one down because that will add on. I 100% agree.
Okay.
But I think, Steve, you said you've been chomping at the bit. I don't want to get in the way here. Your initial thoughts when this came out, what'd you say?
He's learned absolutely nothing. Anything he said was completely irrelevant, completely undone, completely phony. He is unfit to lead. He must immediately step down as CEO of the Chicago Blackhawks.
Now, for anybody that might say to you, very few will, but for anybody that might say to you, well, you caught him in a moment of anger, or he was frustrated, or he's had a stressful year. All of those things could be true. Tell me why he's unfit, in your opinion, to continue going.
We've all had our moments of anger. Me, as you know, as well as everybody. Chris Johnston put it wonderfully on the CJ show. This was an unforced error. He was not asked about 2010. He decided to go off on 2010 because he is a rich man who is upset because he thought he purchased this problem away. He thought with the settlement with Chicago, with Kyle Beach and with John Doe 2, which they just swept that under the rug, didn't say anything, didn't release anything. Cowards, 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 all of them. He thought he purchased peace. He thought he purchased freedom from this subject, from this stain on the organization forever, and he hasn't. And it just so happened, and I don't think Mark Lazarus even knew this, it just so happened that 3 more lawsuits came out the next day. So, the Chicago Blackhawks are not done talking about 2010 there, actually, Rocky. And down goes Brown. Sean McIndoe made a great point. For a team that wants to be done talking about 2010, it sure is strange that this week they went out and hired Patrick Sharp and Marian Hossa. Everything about the Chicago Blackhawks is tarnished. Everything about the 2010 championship's legacy is tarnished. People have been talking about stripping the championship. I don't know about that. I don't know if that's gonna, it's gonna punish innocent parties as well as guilty. I don't know if it'll undo any of the bad.
The punishment is the asterisk.
There could be an asterisk.
No, I'm just saying it is. There is, whether it's official or not. The stain on the trophy is the punishment.
The asterisk exists on within all of us.
Bingo. That's what I mean.
It exists in the knowledge of this. It exists in the X's that you had to put through Brad Aldrich's name. The Chicago Blackhawks cannot purchase their freedom from this subject, which Rocky seems to think he's done. And going forward, there's no way anybody can trust anything he has to say, anything ownership has to say. Wayne Gretzky
on the TNT panel. Let me just put this in perspective for you, okay? Because you got to remember, TNT and the NHL are new partners, as are ESPN and the NHL. And I can tell you from behind the scenes that the NHL are not easy to deal with as partners. They like to get in and try to set content, as in they like to have, the rumor is they like to have their fingers in who's hired where.
Yep.
And the other rumor is, and I know this isn't a rumor, but I never got the call directly, so I can't substantiate it. The other rumor is that if you print a story and you're a partner with them that's unflattering to them, you will get a call from head office. You will. And they have to deal with that. And so for TNT, I told you that to tell you this, for TNT to come on immediately that evening and play the full press conference, play both the Mark Lazarus clip and the next one we're going to play for you, and then have Wayne flippin' Gretzky say, if I was a parent, I'd be worried about whether they were going to protect my kid or not.
Yeah, they're a non-option. They're a non-option until Rocky Wirtz is gone.
So, you mentioned Rick Westhead, and I'm bringing context to this, and I don't want to interrupt you, but I want this.
Go for it.
John Doe 3, among 3 potential plaintiffs weighing lawsuits against the Blackhawks. This came out a day after Rocky Wirtz had his outburst, and I'm going to call it, it's an outburst, right? Tantrum?
Tantrum. Let's go with tantrum.
The former student, now in his 30s, and working in the hockey industry, said Brad Aldrich confided in him that he was gay and told him Chicago helped Aldrich secure a job at Miami of Ohio University. John Doe 3, Aldrich said that the Blackhawks recommended he work with the Miami of Ohio University because the school had already supported the You Can Play program established by Brendan Burke, Brian Burke's son.
Yes.
John Doe 3 said he was assaulted by Aldrich in October 2012. He said Aldrich used his Stanley Cup ring, his Olympic silver medal, and name-dropped Blackhawks players for grooming purposes. When John Doe 3 tried to report the alleged assault, he says Miami U police told him they didn't have jurisdiction. So he contacted police in Oxford, Ohio. An officer told him not to bother because the statute of limitations had expired. John Doe 3 said he had to fight to have his complaint documented. Other potential plaintiffs who have retained the same Chicago law firm are former Blackhawks assistant coach Paul Vincent and former Blackhawks player referred to as Black Ace 1 in a report by Jenner and Block. And then Rick Westhead said, based on DMs I've received today, I think it's important to repost this. And he said, since our interview with Kyle Beach, I've received hundreds of messages from abuse survivors. You are not alone. And then he goes and he sends a link to sexual assault centers, crisis lines, and support centers. And I suppose we should have mentioned the trigger warning with the Wirtz thing, although we're not going to get into too much of the details. If this has happened to you, please reach out in your local area and make sure you call these crisis lines. Now, when it comes to, guys, this particular instance, what's interesting here is people want instant justice on something like this.
Yep.
And I hate to be the one to let you down, but I don't see it happening. And I'll tell you why.
Instant justice in what regard?
Well, a couple people, A, step down as chairman.
Yep.
Because Rocky Wirtz is the chairman.
Yep.
B, make him sell the club.
Right.
So the first thing I'm going to tell you is they're never going to make them sell the club.
No.
The NHL can't find good owners as it is. And I can tell you, business takes precedent over this. They are not selling the club. Rocky Wirtz stepping down as chairman, to me, makes a lot of sense. I've talked to people in the industry. They've all said, not sure how he survives this one.
Yeah.
He's still the owner, but not sure how he survives this one. That means the owner has to fire himself, essentially, in this situation. The problem that you have is Danny Wirtz then would have to step in as chairman, you would think, right?
Probably.
Danny Wirtz did not, on stage, feel comfortable enough to stand up, and take his father's microphone away.
His own son doesn't feel comfortable standing up to him. How does anyone else in the organization stand up to him?
And so when he said to that point in the answer, well, if anybody in the organization asks, we'll tell them, but we're not going to tell you, Mr. Sportsman. It was sort of like, who would ever ask you? Look at the way you're reacting. This happened under your watch in your organization. No one, I wouldn't ask you shit.
I'm so fucking mad. I'm so fucking mad.
Yeah, I think the power dynamic is one of the more interesting things about the clip, because usually in these situations when somebody in your company comes out and has a mistake, the person above them will issue their statement or reprimand that employee, but this is the top of the food chain.
Mm-hmm.
Like, sorry, I'm a little phlegmy from the oat milk and the coffee. This is the top of the food chain. There's nobody to reprimand Rocky Wirtz. And the way he shuts down, to Danny's credit, Mark Lazarus was glowing about him in his piece about this incident. He said that Danny came up to him right after this happened and said that we have done things to rectify the incident that happened in 2010, and we have things in place for that, and I do want to talk to you about that at a later date. But just, we saw on stage how the company is run. Mm-hmm. That stuff's never supposed to get out, and it's out there now, and we see that this is there's a tyrant at the top, and what he says goes, and nobody else has a say. And until that is rectified, there's no way forward for the Blackhawks until you fix that. And it's crazy that he reacted in this way just in and of itself, because this is the first time the Blackhawks have ever taken a question on the Kyle Beach incident ever.
And the Jenner and Block report came out in October.
Right.
Months ago.
Right. And since that moment it came out, since the settlement, since everything that's happened, they have never had a media availability with this brass about what's happened. So you've had literally a year to prepare for one question. And that's what happened.
And it was unprompted. The question was not about Kyle Beach.
No.
It was not about 2010. It was about the future. The future, by the way, which is Danny, and the past is like, well, I have some thoughts on the future. And Rocky, get the fuck out of the way. Stop ruining what your kid has built. You'll remember the Jenner and Block report. He barely said a word. It was all Danny. That's the hope for Blackhawks fans going forward. Mm-hmm. And any member or prospective member of the Blackhawks organization is Danny Wirtz is going to be in charge one day, and he's going to be in charge of the future. But until the past gets out of the way and stops ruining his son's work, the Blackhawks are a non-option if you're trying to enter the National Hockey League as a professional.